A major issue is Iran's ability to enrich uranium. President Trump told reporters Wednesday he hasn't decided whether or not to demand Iran stop enriching uranium.
We haven't made that decision yet. We will, but we haven't made that decision yet.
But he also said on the Hugh Hewitt show this week, Iran's nuclear centrifuges used to enrich uranium have to go.
There are only two alternatives there: blow them up nicely or blow them up viciously.
Iran is the only country in the world that doesn't have nuclear weapons, yet keeps enriching uranium to the point where it can make nuclear bombs. Israel insists the only way to derail Iran is to totally dismantle Iran's nuclear facilities, either voluntarily or through a military strike. When asked Wednesday about whether he's about to propose a new Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal before heading to the Middle East, Trump said the following.
There's a lot of talk going on about Gaza right now. You know that, right? So you'll be knowing probably in the next 24 hours.
Trump stated Tuesday there are less hostages alive in Gaza than Israel has said.
As of today, it's 21. 3 have died. So this is a terrible situation.
But on Wednesday, Prime Minister Netanyahu explained.
We know for sure that there are 21 live hostages. There's no debate about that. There are 3 more who, unfortunately, there is doubt whether they are alive.
Chris Mitchell is joining us now from Jerusalem to continue our coverage. So, Chris, Iran has said it will never get rid of its nuclear centrifuges to enrich uranium, which can be used for nuclear weapons. How important of a sticking point is this for Israel?
Well, Ephraim, it's a huge sticking point for Israel. And the question over here is, why do they even need these centrifuges enriching uranium if they need civilian peaceful purposes for their nuclear program? So it's a big concern over here. The concern as well is, will the U.S. strike a deal with Iran that's good for the United States, but it really ignores the needs of Israel? President Trump has pledged Iran won't get a nuclear weapon. The question is, how is that going to be achieved? So deep concern about a bad deal. And what would a bad deal be? We've talked about this before, allowing Iran to keep those centrifuges, keep enriching uranium, even to minimum like 3.67%. For Israel, anything less than the total destruction of its nuclear infrastructure, that's what they want.
Is any kind of a deal possible if Iran refuses to shut them down?
Well, we don't know right now. It seems like there's uncertainty about what exactly the United States is looking for and what they would allow Iran to keep. So that's how their positions seem to be shifting. Will they accept a civilian nuclear program? A bit of uncertainty about enrichment. And as I said, for Israel, nothing short of destruction of Iran's nuclear infrastructure is what they want. They want, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has talked about this in the past, what's called the Libyan model, when Muammar Gaddafi voluntarily allowed his nuclear program to be destroyed. And I think that's what President Trump was referring to. They can destroy it voluntarily or violently, and that would be a military strike. So it remains to be seen, and a very uncertain future right now for Israel in the Middle East about Iran's nuclear program.
Is it possible Israel could strike Iran even if the United States agrees to a nuclear deal?
Well, that would be very complicated and involve a number of risks. Ephraim, it would put Netanyahu, it would be a risk for him. He's lived literally most of his life promising that Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. Famously, he's been to the UN. He showed, pictures of a bomb how close that Iran is to a nuclear weapon. What would happen? I personally think he would do it if he felt it was the only way to stop Iran from a nuclear weapon. And there's something called the Begin Doctrine. That was a former prime minister of Israel called Menachem Begin. His doctrine was he won't allow any of Israel's neighbors to gain a weapon of mass destruction. And we saw that in 1981. They did destroy the nuclear reactor by Saddam Hussein. They did it in 2007 with a Syrian nuclear reactor. I suspect Netanyahu would do it. Israel would do it if they had to make sure that Iran would not get a nuclear weapon.
Let's talk about Gaza for a moment. If some sort of ceasefire deal is reached, would that hold off Israel's planned massive offensive against Hamas in Gaza?
It would seem to, and they have said that the plan to take over and conquer all of Gaza was going to be on hold till after the Mideast trip by President Trump, if there was a ceasefire, if there was a release of hostages. But so far, Israel says Hamas is refusing any deal that doesn't include the end of the war and the pullout of all Israeli troops. Those are non-starters for Israel. So the situation, does look bleak right now for any particular hostage deal. And as I said, the offensive, which is a major change in the strategy of Israel in the Gaza Strip. Before it had based on more special operations actions that would take over territory but leave. Now they're going to take over the territory and hold it. But a ceasefire deal would change certainly the dynamic of anything going on in Gaza.
Chris, we understand Israel has shut down 6 schools operated by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency in East Jerusalem. Can you tell us more about that and why it's important?
Well, it's important because of the curriculum, and I'll show you an example, Ephraim. This is a Palestinian Authority textbook, and it has a picture right here of Dalal Mughrabi. And this curriculum is the Palestinian Authority curriculum that is taken over by UNRWA. Why is she important? Well, because in 1978, she led a terror attack and killed 37 Israelis, one of the biggest terror attacks at that time. So UNRWA uses this kind of curriculum to take a woman like this and make her a role model for people in UNRWA schools. So we've been talking to a man named David Bedin year after year, who's really an expert on UNRWA and this curriculum. And he says there's 3 points in UNRWA schools and their curriculum: delegitimization of Israel's existence, demonization of Jews in Israel, and that there would be no peace. And so that is why it's so significant that Israel is shutting down these UNRWA schools that teach this kind of curriculum here, right in Jerusalem.
All right, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your insights. We look forward to hearing from you in the days and weeks